Welcome back everyone, hope you're all doing great. In today's video we're breaking down a fun fashion commercial that we did a few weeks ago. We're mainly going to be talking about outdoor lighting setups, but then also obviously the gear, a little bit about the production, so let's get going. In terms of the crew for this production, it was again me and Eden, which you already know from my other videos. We were shooting together and kind of directing together with the people from the company that we were shooting for. And then we also had a gaffer and he had an assistant, and we also had a first AC. So that was the crew, pretty minimal, pretty small. So the camera of choice was the Ursa Mini 4.6K, and you guys know I love that camera. I love Blackmagic, I love the menus, I love the colors. This is a camera I know very well. I've used it before a lot of times. It's versatile, it's easy to use, it has a great price point, so that's why I went with the Ursa. In terms of glass, we rented out two lenses. One was the Cooke 25-250, which I have used before. This whole production was a lot of crash zooms, so I had to go with something that has that kind of range. And honestly, there's not that many lenses with that kind of range, at least in that price point. I do love this lens for a couple of reasons, but it also has its weak points. So this lens produces really nice images. It has beautiful out of focus areas, but it's really soft, and if you get lens flares in especially, it's gonna be really soft. It doesn't have enough contrast, which can be nice if that's what you're going for, but many times I find that it's a little bit too much. It has a lot of chromatic aberration, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. So that's, I guess, the downsides of this lens, but still I love it, I love using it. It's again, like the price point is just, there's no other option, and it did work out well for us in this video. The second lens we went for was the Zeiss standard speed 14mm. It's a really wide angle lens, beautiful optics, great contrast, great lens flare. Yeah, overall a really great lens, and at a good price point also if you're renting it out. So the most challenging part about this shoot was that it was taking place outside in an exterior location, and we were basically shooting there for like 8 or 10 hours outside without a huge lighting crew and without the option of doing a 2-day shoot or anything like that. We had a lot of shots that we had to get done, and it was all in this one day, which basically meant that there was no way that we were gonna get every shot to be perfectly lit, because that takes a lot of time, a lot of gear, a lot of crew. So we just knew we had to pick the shots where the lighting is more important there, and then kind of, you know, try to do the best that we can with the other shots. So the whole thing with lighting outside is trying to use the sun to your advantage, try to shape it, try to bounce it back, or cut it off. Just try to shape things using the available light. It's really hard to overpower the sun, and honestly it's just not really effective. So we can start by looking at a few of these shots, which I think are really good examples of how to control and shape light outdoors. So this was probably around like 10 a.m. in the morning, maybe 11. The sun was really high, definitely not in a good angle, definitely the kind of light that you want to avoid as much as possible. So what we did is we found a background that we liked, and then we found some shade. And the good thing with shade is that it basically gives you like a clean slate, where if you're just in the shade, things are really flat, but then you can easily bounce light back into people's faces, bounce like the sun with the mirror, like for a backlight, and give it some shape. So if you have an option to put people in the shade, that's probably like really gonna help in controlling the light a lot better and shaping it. So we had a few shots in this setup, in this location. The sun is really high, it's coming from like the front left of the frame, and there in the shade we have a big ultra bounce just off to the right, basically bouncing the sun back into their faces, and that's our key light essentially. And then on the other side of the face we naturally have a shadow, so that creates a really nice contrast, and if we wanted to we could also get some negative feel on that side if we wanted a more contrasty or more dramatic effect. And then from the back and a little bit off to the right we have a mirror board that's bouncing back the light, and that's really giving us this beautiful separation from the background and this really nice highlight on the hair and on the shoulder. And in these shots we're also in the shade and we're bouncing back light. I think it was with a mirror and a white bounce board, I'm not really sure, and I can't really find any like behind the scenes photo, to show that, but I think that's what we were doing there. But anyways, same concept. We're putting them in the shade so that we have a nice flat starting point, and then we're bouncing back the light to light them up with like a key light. And in this case, I think the backlight was just like naturally just there. I don't think we did anything for that. And if you're wondering about this shot, it was a Dana Dolly together with a zoom action going on. Not an easy shot to pull off. Didn't turn out perfect, but we didn't have the time to make it perfect. But I think it worked with like the overall like concept and the general like context here with this video. Moving on, later in the day when the sun went down a bit more, it was much more flattering, and then it was a bit easier to just shoot things spontaneously without doing like any lighting whatsoever, and just, you know, getting the natural sunlight. It was around sunset. So all of these shots, you can see they look quite decent, even though it's just direct, harsh sunlight. But because we're moving and it's a wide angle lens and we're trying to stay mostly on the shadow side, we're trying to avoid like harsh shadows in the eyes. It works even though it's just the sun. Then all of these ones are just backlit. Always, like for me at least personally, I like to try and backlight as much as possible, especially outside. I think it works out the best. Front lighting really flat, backlighting a lot of depth. You're shooting from the shadow, which is beautiful. But one thing to watch out for though when you're backlighting is things can get really flat, so you want to make sure that's not happening. Maybe bounce some light back into the person's face, but when you're doing that, don't try to like do the exact same angle, because then you're still gonna end up flat, and it's also going to really look fake. You know, you can really see there's like some light that's not supposed to be there. So try to get the bounce to be like on the same side of the camera that the backlight is coming from, if that makes sense. So generally when lighting, and especially in these exterior lighting scenarios, when you have close-ups, the lighting is much more important to get right, because obviously we're seeing the entire face of the person close up, so we want to get that as flattering as possible. But when we're a bit farther out, when we have wider shots with wider lenses and maybe some movement, then we can kind of get away with, having the light a little bit less perfect. So that's really what we were trying to do in this production. You can see like all of these shots, for example, not the best lighting, not really flattering, but we knew we just didn't have the time or the crew to get them perfect. And the wide shots, they're moving, and generally we could get away with it. And the last shots of this day are these slow motion walks from the models. For this I knew the background didn't matter that much because we were shooting like wide open, and also on the longer end of the lens. So you can see how much the background is compressed. You can see the beautiful bokeh that we're getting. And really I was only trying to get them to be backlit, and then find something in the background, like just a small portion of a background that's not too distracting. But my main goal was to just get them backlit. Doesn't matter where in the location, just get that beautiful light, because it's a really like powerful close-up. So you can see the backlight really giving us these golden highlights on their hair, and that's what you get with backlighting. So this was our little production. Hopefully this was helpful to you in some kind of way. I'm really trying to give you guys some real life scenario productions, even when they're not like the most impressive or the most amazing. I just want to give you like a real perspective, I guess, on what the industry might be like for you. So yeah, I guess I'm just trying to share my experience and my insight into how I do my productions. So with that being said, if you want to see more of these, make sure you subscribe and also like this video. That would really help me out. If you want to connect, you want to shoot me a message, you want to see what I'm doing daily, behind the scenes from productions, that kind of stuff, then make sure you follow me at YuvalA96 on Instagram. But thank you for watching this video, and hopefully I'm gonna see all of you in the next one.